What up, fam? Coach Vassar here. Thank you for joining me with OTF Audio Daily Beats. As always, if you're new, appreciate you tuning in, listen to me talk about these workouts. If you find value in them, information is in the description to support me. If you have any feedback, let me know. We're gonna break down Sunday, June 8th. This will also repeat Tuesday, June 24th. We're gonna see endurance on the treads, power on the rower, strength on the weight floor. The 2G is a switch template, the 3G is not. All right, as always, we'll talk about the 2G, then talk about the 3G. So on the treads, you're there twice. And today we are going to surge, build endurance with short bursts of speed or incline. On the rower, short, powerful 150 meter all out rows in block 1. Can you match or beat your time each row attempt? On the floor, you're there twice. Build strength, first with straps, then with dumbbells, one side at a time. All right, so group that starts on the treads, they're gonna do tread, floor, tread, floor. Group that starts on the floor, floor, tread, floor, tread. Okay, there is a 2-minute transition every time we switch the room. So sense of urgency, definitely put wipes out on the treadmills beforehand. That way that once you are finishing them up, they can start wiping it down, head on over. And then on the weight floor, either wipes on the rowers or wipes on their weight floor area. All right, or just make sure they are aware of where the wipes are and enough time to grab them as they need to. As far as the setup goes for equipment, just dumbbells and straps. However, I would have benches out for some of these exercises as options if your space allows it at your studio. So when we look at the treadmills here, blocks 1 and block 2 are very similar, but they're opposites of one another. In block 1, we have 2 parts. The surge and return for the first 7.5 minutes is a base into a speed surge and then coming back. And then the part 2 for 3 minutes is a push speed with a surge to finish it out. All right, and then in the second tread block, it swaps around. So when we look at it here, we're gonna see a total of 3 90-second push, 30-second surges. Then there's a 4th base by itself to close out that first part. Then they move to part 2. There's no like walk recoveries. They just go right into it. When you look at it on the template, it says it is a 45-second push and a 15-second speed surge. Treat it more as a 3-minute push rather than 45 seconds, because the idea here is they'll hold that push speed, they bump up for the surge, and then pull back down. So scooting back here is from the beginning. They're gonna start at base. Power walkers, with the surge, they're looking to add 0.5% to 3% for that 30-second surge, and then joggers and runners, 0.1 to 0.5 or more on that speed increase. Now, they don't have any specific call outs for the bikes and striders, but what I would personally do is treat it like a jogger or runner. So maintaining their base gears and then speed up would be one approach for it. And then during part 2, they're using a push gear and then try to speed up for those 15 seconds with the RPMs before they come back to their normal RPMs. That's me personally. If you want to coach it by gear manipulation, you could. So start at their base gear and holding their base RPMs. In the first part with those 30-second surges, could they add 1 or 3 gears and then come back to base? And then in part 2, they're gonna hold a push gear and then maybe add 1 or 2 gears above that and then come back to their push gear, okay? One thing that they call out about is the surge does not have to be the same every time. So let heart rate response kind of guide them. So with the first part, with these longer base efforts, they should spend a majority of time in the green, and then that surge should help kind of spike the heart rate slightly to kind of float up to high green, maybe dip into the orange, and then start to trail off and come back down. But then that back half, when they're doing that 3-minute push with surges throughout, definitely heart rate's gonna be elevated and they should stay in the orange essentially. It finishes with a 15-second surge. So it doesn't have a true all out at the end, it just finishes with that surge, and then that is it, okay? They'll go to the weight floor, then they come back to the treads. Now they're gonna start with that 3-minute push with the 45 seconds and a 15-second surge 3 times. And then from that 15-second surge on that 3rd attempt, they go to base for 90 seconds. And then just like in part 1, or block 1, they're gonna see the base with a 30-second surge 3 times. And then instead of a 4th 90 base, they're gonna do a 1-minute base into a 30-second all out finally. All right, one thing to be aware of is the second time back on the treadmills, accumulated fatigue, heart rate is going to respond much more quickly, and it's going to be elevated a lot higher. And the fact that we start with that push and then go into that base, it's going to really preload a lot of fatigue on members, so they're going to see much higher heart rate response, and it's going to stay elevated for substantially longer. Most likely, once they hit orange, they're staying there unless they really pull back on their speed or their incline. All right, and that's the tread side. Now when we look at the weight floor side, block 1 and block 2 are set up very similar. You're gonna have a circuit and then something separately. So in part 1, block 1, we're gonna see 3 strap exercises. Rep ranges are 6 to 10 reps. You're gonna have a strap rollout, single leg squat, and then the high row. After that, you're gonna head to the rower, knock out a 150 meter all out row. For the group that starts with the rower, this is great because it's gonna help prime the legs to get them ready for the endurance work that they're gonna see on the treadmills. Of course, the group that were on the treads and now they're on the floor, it's gonna fatigue the legs, which is gonna make that second tread block that much more challenging, okay? Rollouts and the high row, all about, the position of your 3 anchors. So make sure your shoulders, your torso, your hips are strong, tight, they're stacked, minimal movement of any flexion extension. With the rollout, one thing that I see a lot of is people drop the arms too much, so the strap comes onto the body. So try to keep those arms extended out, almost like if they were in the extended position of a chest press, and then from there, roll out and come back. Of course, if that's too hard, well then that's your heads up to walk forward. For that single leg squat, this is one where it is beneficial to have the benches out if needed. That way they have a target, and worst case scenario, they're able to sit down on the bench, right? And then for that high row, obviously hitting the back of the shoulders, elbows flare out, priming the upper back, so that way when they hit that all out effort row, they feel very confident and strong with all, pre-activation going into it. For that all out row, they're trying to match or beat their time every time. Set the standard high for that first one, max effort 9, 10 out of 10 on the leg drive, relatively high stroke rate, 28 to 32, anywhere from 22 to 45 seconds, but realistically, less is better. When they're done, they go back to the floor with 10.5 minutes here, plenty of time to get through probably about 3 attempts of everything. Once they finish block 1, they are done with the rower, so they could wipe it down. They'll never touch the rower again. The second block on the floor, unique setup. We're gonna see 3 movements that we're gonna do with the dumbbell on the left arm. Then you do all 3 with the right arm. We're gonna see a half kneel and low to high chop. So left hand has the weight, left knee is on the ground, starts by the hip, and then comes up over the shoulder, and then right back down. From that position, they could switch to a different weight because they're doing a half kneel to stand. Now the beautiful thing is, the half kneel to stand, as the name implies, you should start from that kneel in position, which everyone was doing from that half kneel and low to high chop. So when members are like, oh, I can't get down to my knee, well, what were you doing on that first movement? You were doing it just fine, so now stand up, right? So that's one way to kind of coax them into doing this movement correctly and getting that full range of motion, because once again, it's a movement pattern that we see every single day, and it's an opportunity to train for it to get better at it. And then you have a single arm split stance high row. If you have any people with lower back issues, they could do like a strap 1 arm low row as an alternative. Or they could even go into like a hinged position and keep that core nice and tight. All right. Do all 3 movements on the left. They could rest at that point, do all 3 movements on the right, rest if they need to, and then they're gonna see the alternating full V up for 6 to 10 total reps. So lower back comes up, one leg comes up, back down, the next rep, the other foot comes down. And they're gonna repeat that entire sequence until the finisher, which is the dumbbell V up for the final 30. Now, when we look at the 3G, we're gonna see 2 blocks for the treads and the rowers, and then 1 long block for the weight floor. The treadmills is essentially the same, but it's just 2 rounds for each of the pairs. So 90 base, 30 surge, 90 base, 30 surge into their 2-minute push, but it's gonna be a 45 push, 15 surge, 45 push, 15 surge, 30-second all out. Okay, so once again, I would set it up like that second part as a 2-minute push, 30-second all out. And then that way they bump it up for that quick surge and come right back to that uncomfortable but sustainable push effort. Block 2, same thing as the 2G, it just flips it. So 2 rounds of the push and 15 surge, and then 2 rounds of the base 30 surge. But after that second 30-second surge, they go right into a 30-second all out. For the rower, we're gonna see 5 rounds of a 300-meter push row with the 2 forward, 2 back quick feet drill. So the setup for that one, imagine like a square on the floor. You're gonna touch the corners of the square. That completes 1 rep. They have 10 of those. And the goal here is to increase watts as the distance decreases. So use a stored program. At the very least, average watts should climb every single attempt. Split time will also drop. So a couple different metrics to pay attention to during the actual work itself and when they are done with the row. And then part 2, we're gonna flip it around. The active recovery is going to be the row, and then the work is going to be a body weight movement. So you're gonna see 8 reps of a squat jump and then a 100-meter base row. The base row will increase by 50 meters every round, but be explosive on that squat jump. Heart rate spikes up, use the row to help get that heart rate back under control and find the breath. And then on the weight floor, it's the exact same floor movements, except for they're gonna only do 2 rounds of the 3 strap movements, and then they're done with the strap. Then they'll do that second floor blocks circuit for the remainder of the time. So the half kneel in, low to high chop, half kneel to stand, split stance high row on the left arm, do all 3 on the right arm, and then do your V up, and then go back to the half kneel in position. And then same finisher, of course, going right back to the full V up for the final 30 seconds. There you go. That's once again for Sunday, June 8th. Repeats on Tuesday, June 24th. Any feedback, let me know. Otherwise, coach it down.